So we're gonna take this scene, which we have 8 mushrooms, a snail, and a little roly-poly, cute little guy. And we're gonna simplify this design and do a watercolor, okay? We're gonna do some wet and wet, we're gonna do some dry on wet, and we're gonna do some glazing. So as you can see in this, I wanted to do really sharp and defined blades of grass, but I was a little impatient and some of that green ran a little bit with the blue and teal undertones, okay? So the first thing that we're gonna do, guys, is we're gonna do a drawing with this. And we're gonna pull that over here. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna draw like a big mushroom over here, okay? And when I draw mushrooms, I tend to like think of a squished Hershey Kiss kind of thing, right? You see that? Kind of looks like a Hershey Kiss, or like like a squashed piece of pizza, or a stubby piece of pizza. All right. I'm gonna do one big guy over there. I'm gonna do one big guy kind of doing a little gangster lean over here, and then one guy kind of big and squat because he's going to be holding our snail right there. So that's 1, 2, 3. We're going to do maybe one more, maybe in the front here, a little guy that's coming up. And we'll put the roly-poly over here, and then we'll do another little one right here. Okay? And so these are going to be the outlines from my mushrooms. I'm going to do the stems coming from the middle. All right. This little guy down here. And this little guy down here. And I'm gonna do a little roly-poly down here. A little pill bug. I don't know about you guys, but I've been enamored with roly-polies. I think they're the cutest little things. I've spent many days as a child like collecting them, putting them in little mazes, never torturing them, never ever torturing them. Yeah. And they have these little antennae that kind of come up out, you know? And they eat like rotten foliage and things like that. They're just cute. I'll put little feet down here, you know, like, and they're just adorable. I love them. Magical creatures, right? So we have our mushroom little forest here. And then on top of this center mushroom, we're gonna do a snail. Okay, so I'm gonna carve out a little space right here between my snails. Erase that. And then I'm just going to kind of draw a circle. Yes, Walter? You need something better than scissors to cut through cardboard? Yeah. Child, I'm not giving you an exact knife. Are you kidding me? How old are you? Almost 9. No, definitely not getting an X-Acto knife. Get creative and use some scissors.
I use scissors.
No.
I use a stapler.
No, you can't use. Why are you gonna? The stapler remover is not good. Okay, we're gonna make a circle, and then we're gonna kind of spiral it. So we're gonna do this. Okay, this will be the shell. And we're gonna extend, we're just gonna cut out this little part right here. and just make a little opening for the snail to come out. You guys see that? John, how's my pacing? Am I going too fast? Okay, I'm slowing down. Good thing Walter interrupted me, right? There's your shell. Oh. And so I can finish that little there, right there. I like this composition. It's clean. I like it. It's nice. I'm going to shift this big one a little bit to the right a little bit because I didn't leave enough space for my snail. I'm going to just draw that in a little bit later. Drawing the foot of the snail coming out of the shell, then up. And it kind of looks like a thumb coming out of there, right? Oh, it's like, you know, thumbs up, man. So we're gonna pull some antennae out. Whoop. Whoop. And then whoop. Whoop. Just like so. There's gonna be, that's our little snail. Okay. And then I'm gonna go back over here and kind of put in my mushroom, my now edited mushroom, right? Okay, we're gonna add one more mushroom, okay? I'm gonna put one just behind that big one to create more depth of field, okay? Just like that. Okay, so my drawing's done. I'm gonna take a little break for you guys so you guys can finish up your drawing. Make sure, please, that you have, I'm using, make sure you have a brush, maybe two. I'm solely gonna pretty much be using this size 7 Crayola that comes standard with most little like watercolor sets that you can get at like supermarkets even. Again, I like to create lessons that are accessible to everybody. Recycled pans of watercolor paint, or excuse me, rescued from the depths of neglect in like back cabinets. Clear water, tissue, a little mixing pan. Mine's just a clear plastic one from the covers of these old guys. All right. We're not using the whole page of this Vine Fang mixed media pad. I'm just using like about 2/3 or a half. So get a good drawing. It doesn't have to look exactly like mine, guys. Not even. I'm sorry, Kiana. Yeah, I'm going pretty fast. My bad. I'm slowing down. It's the coffee, guys. I'm sorry. It's the coffee. I blame the coffee. I had a colleague at one point. He had a really cool coffee cup. Now, it wasn't really like cool, as in the sense that it was a really awesome coffee design or coffee cup design. It was what was on it that was really funny. On the side, you know, this coffee cup, it just said, "Coffee makes me poop." It's just a plain white coffee mug, like a diner cup, but in black letters, in black script, it just said, "Coffee makes me poop." This is pre-poop emoji, pre all that stuff, you know. I was like, Comic Sans or something like that. So it was fun. So understand, guys, we don't have that much time between now and the end of the school year. We are working in watercolor, and we're going to be doing some watercolor and using the Sakura pens probably starting next week. On Thursday this week, we're going to be doing another kind of wildlife painting. I haven't decided yet what we're going to do. There are a lot of fun projects I have in mind. But yeah. We'll see. Did you guys like the kelp forest one? Yeah, that was fun. So in between my the little students that are in my room for childcare during COVID, in between their meets, one of them is building a gigantic cardboard fort with multiple rooms off of it. He's building basically a cardboard mansion in my room. Hold on. Hello. Buenos días. ¿Cómo estás? Más o menos. ¿Qué quieres? Oh, solo 4. Todos vegetarianos. Está bien. Gracias a ti. Hasta luego. Okay, my lunch order is in. Woo-hoo. Okay, are you guys ready? What do you think? Yeah? Kiana, are we good? John, are we good? John, speak to me, John. All right, you're gorgeous. Thank you so much. I'm out of coffee though, it's sad times. All right. We're gonna do a wet and wet first. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do this wet area here, okay? And we're gonna lay down water, and then we're gonna drop in some blue, okay? So I'm just gonna do the perimeter of my drawing, just dropping in water. Drop in the water. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just moving water around. It's lovely. It's lovely. Just using my number 7 brush, because it is a pretty big brush, but if you have a bigger brush, that'd be even better. Okay, I'm just doing the perimeter. Then I'm gonna go in with my blue. Just mixing some blue. Blue, blue, blue. And I'm just gonna start dropping in color. Okay. Just dropping in some color on the outside here. All right, moving it around. Oh. And if I overlap some of my mushrooms, that's okay. Drop it in the blue. And then I'm just kind of going in with water and pushing that blue around a little bit. I'm bullying it. Grab some more blue, push it around. And I'm just establishing a border of blue color, like light blue. If I get it too heavy in some places, that's okay. Move it around. And let it bloom, blossom, and run. Okay. gonna go through now and kind of take some of that water away. Just a little bit. For all intents and purposes for time right now during this demo. Just blot a little bit of that color and the water away. Yeah, there we go. Beautiful. Okay. Next, oh, I wanted to get some just over here. A little bit more blue. All right, now I'm gonna clean my brush. So we did some wet and wet around the perimeter of our composition. We're gonna go into some red. Okay, and I'm using kind of more of an orange or a red orange. Okay. And, ooh, actually no, I wanted to, hold on. We're gonna do wet and wet too on the mushrooms. We're gonna do the mushroom caps right now. We're gonna be using more of a red orange. Okay, so we're gonna grab some water. We can do these one at a time. So I'm going to first wet the, a little runage. First wet the interior of my cap here, the mushroom cap. Now, I'm also gonna do something which is gonna enable me to preserve the white beneath the paint. So I wanna save some of the white of the paper. So I'm gonna go into my red, and I'm gonna lay down just a little bit of red, and I'm gonna preserve some little dots of white as I'm doing this. Some areas are just gonna not wanna do it, but that's okay. And I'm gonna gradate this, meaning a little darker red on the top. And I'm gonna just pull that pigment down that's in my brush. See that? Gonna make it look really trippy. More red at the top. All right. And that's one way we're gonna do it. We're also gonna experiment with clean brush, grab some paint. Now, grab some water, and I'm going to preserve white just by using the water, okay? So we're trying out different things here. This is the cool thing about watercolor, guys. You can try different things as you go along. Now, I'm gonna go in with my red. And hit those areas. Some of these areas have preserved white areas. I'm just dropping color into that water that's already on the page. Watch how it just kind of goes. Ooh, I like it. Different results, definitely, but they're ones I can live with. Now, if the spaces, like the things I preserved, the white I preserved, they're too many, I can just cover them up and preserve the ones that I want. Again, I'm gradating, meaning more of the pigment at the top, less near the bottom. So this is kind of a fail. That's okay. I'm just gonna go in now with some more red and kind of clean it up. All right, let's use this technique over here. My water is turning a little bit pink, so lighter gradient as we get to the bottom. No, that's not white. Oh, Walter. What happens when you have a little boy running around in your classroom? He tries to discover things that don't belong to him. So I'm doing this wet technique of just laying down water. And then going in with the red. And again, I'm just using a number 7 brush. Nothing fancy. Ooh, that's fun. Boom. just dropping in color into the wet areas on my mushrooms. And because those wet areas, I already drew the reserved white areas, the pigment is going to just go where that is. Gonna go through and add a little bit more red on the top of this mushroom. Same thing over here as these are drying. Hey, Kiana. Okay, everything okay? Internet woes, I feel you. Just gonna add. Red, 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 red. Red, 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 red. There we go. Okay. Last little mushroom of our little composition here. Too much water in my brush, I'm gonna use. Okay, dropping in some red. What's that song? Painting the roses red. Painting the roses red. That's probably before your time. Boom. Boom, shakalaka. So as these are kind of drying up and stuff, I'm going to go into my orange a little bit. And I'm going to add that to, and kind of water it down. This is going to be kind of part of that glazing where you're adding it in here, a little wet. Create like those cool highlight here down here. A little orange, just a little bit. I'm just pushing this in here over the areas that are a little bit lighter so that you can see a gradient on the bottom. And kind of blend it into the red. Creates a cool looking effect. Okay. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into my Kelly green. This is like it's like a darker green. You just kind of see it's gonna be a darker green than the forest green that I normally have you guys use. This is what we're gonna use to do kind of the stems, but we're gonna lighten it a lot. I'll clean out some area on my. So I already have some kind of pre-mixed here, this little Kelly green and a little bit of blue to make like a teal. And we're gonna use that to create the floor of our little area, okay, and also the stems. So the first thing we're gonna do is we'll do the floor. And I still got a lot of that green on my brush, so we'll just push that around a little bit. I was gonna have it go wet and wet, but we'll just do this. It's fine. Actually, this might be the ideal color. Pushing this around between our mushrooms. I'm going really wet. I don't want it too dark though. So now that I have some water down, I'm going to push that mixture in to those areas I've painted. Put some shadow underneath our roly-poly. So we're using like a dark green with a little bit of blue. And I'm fading that into our initial blue background. And I'm rounding, you guys can see that I'm rounding off these areas underneath the mushrooms. Okay, take care, Jack. It's all good. little shadow underneath Mr. Roly Poly. And fade this down. All right. We're gonna go into our Kelly green, and again, once you guys have this background once you have the ground kind of in, then we're gonna do the stems in a minute, okay? Cool. So I'm gonna go back to that Kelly green. I'm gonna put it onto my pan, and I'm gonna water it down a lot because I don't want it to be really bright or anything like that. This is gonna be the stem for our mushrooms. So I'm gonna put down a little bit of color. Notice how it's really translucent. I'm gonna dip my brush into some water and just stretch that towards the whole stem. So I just put a few brush strokes down, and then I use some water, and I just stretch that pigment as far as I can go. Because I want it to be kind of translucent. I want that to come through. So again, a little bit here. Yeah. One stem down. I'll do a few brushes of the green, get into some water from my water container, and just stretch that green so it's more translucent. I use that for these little guys. There's enough water and pigment in my brush I can just kind of pull. Look at that. A few brush strokes, and then just pull. We're so close. So I'm gonna grab some more Kelly green, and this time I'm gonna make it a little bit thicker, and we're gonna put in some shadows in those areas we just painted. Okay. So this is probably it. This is dry. We're gonna just do some shadows. Pull this down like so. And if it's a little dark, like I think this is just a smidge too dark, I'm just gonna blot it to make my shadow nice and pretty. And then I'm just gonna hit it with the tissue. Yeah, that's better. Pull down. better. Actually, the space between these two mushrooms, I'm just going to drop in a shadow. Shadow. Okay. So we're getting there, guys. We have a couple things to do. One being the roly-poly, the snail. And we're gonna do blades of grass too as well. Okay. I don't know what these are, little things here in the paint. There we go, much better. Good. Okay. So we're gonna do the snail. We're almost done, guys. We're gonna go into our browns. We're gonna water it down a lot. We're gonna do a brown wash first. And this brown wash is gonna be the base for the snail shell. So I'm just gonna grab some brown and throw in a light wash of brown inside the shell. Lift some of that paint up. See that? Nice brown wash. Okay. Grab some black, water it down. It's going to be the base for our roly-poly. It's kind of a black mixture with a little bit of that teal that we use for the base of the composition. So just doing a wash. Yeah, I can still see it. Cute as a bug, right? All right. Grab some of that green again, just a little bit of green. Not much. This is going to be the wash color, the base color for our snail. For the actual, I guess you might call it the meaty part of the boy. Gently do the antennae. Okay. Maybe I'm going to add a little yellow to him too as well. Yeah. Oh, it's lovely. Lovely little scene. Fun, fun, fun. I'm gonna add a little bit of blue to that green. And those are gonna be, it's gonna be the color we're gonna make his antennae. If it runs, that's cool. All right. Back to the brown. Brown, brown, brown. What we're gonna do are brush strokes that go along the spiral, okay? So you can see the pencil marks for our spiral. We're just gonna, that's a little dark. Little blotch. That's actually a good idea. Let's go brush stroke, brush stroke, brush stroke, brush stroke, brush stroke. And I'm also kind of flicking it to go in the direction that I want it to go. Gonna go every other on the outside. And then follow the pattern of the spiral with a singular brush stroke. Kind of like so. And then blot it. It's gonna fill in some of this, so it's not so apparent, or excuse me, abrupt, I guess. And again, I'm using a number 7 brush, so it's not really a detail brush, which is actually good for this. Boom. And then just blot. Just mute it down. I'm gonna hit it with a little water. To tone it down a little bit. And then blot it again. Yeah, that's much better. I'm pulling some of the brown from the bottom of the shell by just pulling some water and giving it a little bit of a shadow onto the surface of the cap of the mushroom. See that? We're gonna kind of do the same thing for Mr. Roly-Poly at the bottom here. I'm gonna grab a little bit of black, mix it with some water. And along those little ridges that we made, we're just gonna, first I'm gonna just pull up along those ridges. And then block that sucker. There we go. I'm gonna slow down, take a little bit of break so you guys can catch up. Don't worry, this is gonna be posted to my YouTube, so if you wanna rewatch and hit it again, you can at your own pace, and you can pause my fast fast talking and doing, okay? The last thing that we're gonna do to this painting is we're gonna add grass. We're going to be using, again, kind of like the Kelly green, the darker green. We're going to have kind of a gradient of translucent blades of grass and darker blades of grass. We're going to range in sizes and things like that too as well. Okay? All right. I'm gonna go in to the Kelly green that's right here, and just do some test swipes. Look at that. Look how dark that is. Don't know if I want it to be that dark initially, so we're going to mix it on the pan. We're gonna grab the green, stretch it with water. Again, I'm using the 7 brush, so I'm gonna do some test strokes. Less pressure, smaller and finer the line, right? So I'm gonna put them around the bases and stuff near things, near the mushrooms and things like that. And this is relatively dry now, so I know that I'm not gonna have my brush strokes bleed. So I'm gonna put these around. See that? Kind of vary the length so that they kind of overlap. Ah. I love watercolor. Get away with a lot of things you can't get away with in other mediums, that's for sure. I'm varying the length. I don't want it to be too inundated with blades of grass, but I do want to create that depth of field that you're gonna get. If you create these. I'm also gonna go in with the Kelly green. I'm gonna make it kind of translucent and do some fun little areas in here. Kind of maybe move them around with my finger, drag some of the green. To make translucent areas. Maybe some little weird areas too as well. So I'm mixing between dark and light. All right, I think we are done. Fun. Good stuff. Again, we did wet and wet. We experimented with wet and wet, trying to preserve white. Didn't work out as well as I had hoped. So we did the wet and wet while preserving the white here by painting in those areas with water and then adding the pigment later. some wet and wet inside here, some wet on dry. These techniques are gonna enable you guys to really kind of expand your abilities in creating things in watercolor. So.